Hey guys, as many of you might know now, the community has lost one of its most prominent figures, being Michigan. His legacy is something that cannot be forgotten, and the mark he has left on this game is truly impressive. From being number one on the leaderboard from late 2015 to April 2017, this was the longest any player had held this position. He was an inspiration for myself along with many others, and it's been difficult to truly take in his passing over the last few days. My goal with this video was to highlight some of his monumental levels that have been published over his career, so I hope you enjoy. Starting off with one of his largest projects, Forest Temple is not only the hardest in the series, but the most enjoyable, in my opinion. Since it is the most recent, it allowed for a wider range of game modes, where basic knowledge of each aspect was required. Some areas that really stood out to me were the beginning cube and the 58% ship. Both segments excelled for the time period and really helped display Michi's true creating abilities. It's unfortunate that he stopped creating there, since the improvement he was making was obvious to anyone playing the levels. Earth Temple could have been cool or any other themed project, but he stopped playing the game quite some time ago, so it was already unlikely. Moving on to the fourth installment of the Temple series, Lava Temple, released on February 6, 2015, was a collaboration with G-Boy. I have some very good memories revolving around this level, where Michi actually went out of his way to comment on my completion video, which was absolutely massive for me. This is just one of the impacts he has had on my life, and it makes me tear up just thinking about it. The theming for this project is kept strictly to fire and lava, which is a trait you would expect from a level in the series. This is probably one of the most satisfactory completions you will have, where you can assume the gameplay was tested rigorously to ensure enjoyment for anyone who wanted a challenge. The third temple level is Shadow Temple. While this seems to focus on memory considerably more than the others, this is one of my favorites. I'm not really sure how this makes sense, but the inputs for the memory cubes, especially the one at 52%, just feel right. Because this is a solo project, it might look like a decrease in quality compared to the others. I personally don't believe this is the case, since this theme would be hard to illustrate within 1.9's limited editor. This was also one of the first levels to have a swing copter segment, so it's cool to see Michi always trying to innovate, coming at the editor from a different perspective. This is actually the longest level in the series by just under a second, compared to Forest Temple, where they both come in at around a minute and 27 seconds long. The end art for this level is also probably the coolest compared to all of the other levels in the series. That's kind of funny to think about, since it came out so much earlier than the others. The second level in the series was titled Fire Temple. This project uses yet another main level song, which is expected since there wasn't the ability to add custom tracks to the game yet. Surprisingly, bass after bass sounded pretty good after playing this today since it had been quite some time since I last heard it. There are a few sections significantly harder than others, such as the 35% ship and the upside down UFO transition, which can easily mess you up if you don't see it coming. I would also like to mention this level was released a mere 2 days before Shadow Temple and 1 day after the 1.9 update was made public. It seems that he adapted to this update's editor very fast since he was pumping out levels left and right one after the other. This time period is what most consider the golden ages of the game, and I can easily see why it's titled that. The levels here might not look the best visually, but it's amazing to see what the creators were doing to get their point across with such limited tools at their fingertips. Progressing on to the last level, it all began with Water Temple, the first level in a monumental chain of levels that would change the game on the large scale. Compared to today's standards, it might seem as if there is not a lot brought to the table here, but back in the pre-1.9 days, this was a modern creating marvel. Something that seems to be reoccurring throughout all of these levels is a difficult ship segment, where this is no exception once you reach 62%. It's interesting to see his mastery of this game mode in specific, especially on a lower refresh rate, which was the standard at this point. There is actually a bug here at 51%, where your ball will just die on the slopes. It seems to only affect high refresh rate players, but this can in no way be Michi's fault, since 60Hz was the standard back then. I am left to wonder if this was always meant to be a group of levels or if Water Temple was a standalone project with no intention of having multiple sequels. Regardless, it's amazing to see the player he became and the levels he left with us. I chose not to include Desert Temple since it was not a level Michigun contributed with as a creator. Losing a friend like this is never easy, and everyone goes through their own struggles most people will never know about. If you ever need someone to talk to, my DMs are always open and I would love to talk. Have a great rest of your day.